These are tools for maximizing cognitive and linguistic engagement. They come from Dr. Kate Kinsella. My name is Beth Luttrell, and I am the coordinator for California Teacher Induction in the San Mateo Foster City School District. In the old paradigm, the teacher asks a question, and a few students raise their hand. The same students tend to participate, and some students go all day long without speaking in school at all. Unfortunately, many of those are English language learners who need the most oral practice, but who may not be quite sure what to say. This is a structured, accountable response system. This, or some other intentional system for structured, accountable student responses, should be used throughout the lesson, all day, every day. We'll talk a bit about setting up and facilitating partner interactions. We will introduce the idea of using a sentence frame to guide accurate oral fluency. We will suggest some strategies for monitoring student interaction. This is an excellent formative assessment tool, as when you monitor student interactions, you will note where there is mastery of learning, where instruction needs to be modified, and for whom and how that modification must happen. Here are the procedures for precision partnering. You're going to make eye contact with an elbow partner, and then determine who is going to be partner number 1 and partner number 2. If you have to have 3 people in the partnership, you'll have 1 number 1 and 2 number 2s. The partners then are going to be instructed to follow the 4 L's. Look. It's important to have eye contact with your partner. Lean. If you lean slightly toward your partner, your body language says that you're interested in what they're saying. You're going to use a low voice, and we'll talk in a minute about how to practice for that low voice. And listen. So the 4 L's are look, lean, low voice, and listen. It's important to teach the procedures for voices so that the noise doesn't get out of control during partner protocols. So the teacher says, "This is a whisper," and the students respond back, "This is a whisper." The teacher says, "This is a partner voice," and together the students respond, "This is a partner voice." Then the teacher says, "This is a public voice," and together the students respond, "This is a public voice." It'll be loud, but then students understand the difference between the 3 voices. In Conscious Classroom Management, Rich Smith offers a strategy. If you want a student to speak softly, walk toward them. And if you want them to speak in a public voice, walk away and hold your hand up to your ear as a signal that it's time for that public voice. You also need to teach and enforce the procedure for coming back together at the end of partner interaction. If you use a silent signal, like a hand raised or 0 noise, be still and silent as you give that signal. If you're going to ring a chime, let it resonate. The chime is instead of your voice, so let the chime do the work. If you have another strategy, use it consistently and make sure your verbal input matches the nonverbal cue. If you have a variety of inputs, use one at a time. If that strategy doesn't work, wait, or practice until it does work. But don't go through a litany of several cues back to back. So here's a discussion question. How might lesson partners show that they're actively listening? Only instead of the word show, let's use an academic word like demonstrate or prove. How might lesson partners demonstrate that they're actively listening? It's important in this model to model academic language and demonstrate examples of editing our language to move from common to academic vocabulary. In the Think, Pair, Share sequence, students should take some time to write ideas that are evidence of their thinking before they share. In this slide, let's brainstorm some active listening behaviors. A partner demonstrates active listening when he or she looks interested. A partner demonstrates active listening when he or she repeats my ideas. A partner demonstrates active listening when he or she records my thoughts. It's important to give a few examples before the students begin work. The teacher might say, "If you agree with one of my ideas, you may use that, and I encourage you to generate additional ideas to contribute to the discussion." That way, if a student doesn't have the language or knowledge to generate an idea, they can begin with the class examples and in doing so practice language. This takes nothing away from the students who are able to generate ideas. The prompt should be open-ended enough to allow for many solutions. One way to differentiate for varying levels of complexity is to offer some different prompts. Students then practice by talking to a partner before sharing their ideas with their class. By doing this, every student practices listening and speaking, every student is accountable to the prompt, and every student benefits by hearing both the ideas of their partner and the ideas from the larger group, as the teacher calls on nominated students or those who wish to share. We'll discuss the large group share in the next slide. The next step in the process is to share your idea with one partner. Partner number one begins. You could establish partner number one is the person sitting closest to the door, partner number two is the person sitting closest to the whiteboard. But partner number one is going to read their idea from the paper, then they're going to practice a second time by saying it with expression. So it might sound something like this. Partner number one says, "A partner demonstrates active listening when she looks interested." The second time, the partner is going to look their partner in the eye and say it with expression. "A partner demonstrates active listening when she looks interested." Now partner two repeats that process. He or she reads the idea from the paper and then practices a second time. If time permits, you're going to share additional ideas. During this time, the teacher is circulating through the room, listening to ideas and asking students to share with the group when the group comes back together. Now it's time to share an idea that you said to or heard from your partner. The teacher will jumpstart the conversation by calling on students that she nominated during the partner activity. Students will use this sentence frame to speak in a complete sentence with academic language, and then the teacher can call on another student to share or have students call on each other. It's important not to raise hands until the very end of the activity, when the teacher can say, "Is there anyone else who has something to share?" There may be somebody who didn't get called on who has something significant to say, and at the end of activity, that's an appropriate time to ask for hands raised. Another strategy is for the teacher to ask all partner twos to stand up. The teacher calls on one of those partners, and then the teacher says, "If your idea was similar, you can sit down." At this point, about 3/4 of the students usually sit. You can call on other number twos who are standing. Another strategy is to call on the student you nominated to jumpstart the conversation, and then have that person call on someone from another quadrant of the room, or boys can call on girls, girls on boys. You might try equity sticks to randomize the students, but be careful. If you have a reluctant student whose name is pulled out of the hat when they haven't had a chance to practice, that can be daunting to that student. So the reason for nominating students is that they know they're going to share and they have time to practice and get ready for that. I hope that this series of slides helps you understand a little of the Accountable Academic Partnering Protocol from Dr. Kate Kinsella. You'll find a video of this strategy in the classroom on the resource page in your induction binder. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask for clarification.